smile, though I wear a frown. And I'm not gonna take it all lying down, 'cause once I get started I go to town. 'Cause I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else.
All right, welcome in. A brand new episode of the Captain and Madden show here. Buzzing into your eardrums. Friday, May 1st. Mike Madden on my side of things. The Captain, Michael Corby, on his side. Captain, welcome to May.
It's gonna be May.
I knew you were going to do that. I kind of want to. I almost want to halt recording because that's about as cornball as it gets.
What else? What would you rather me say? Happy
Mayday, Mayday. You could do that.
Yeah, I guess.
I may start talking now.
Star Wars Day is in a couple. I could have
Yeah.
greeted you with Star Wars.
May the 4th be
You
with
could say just May the 1st be with you, right?
I could have.
Yeah. Well,
You put me on the spot. That's the first thing. It's only because like my damn timeline and everything is filled up with everybody with the Timberlake pictures.
Yeah, that's true. It's inevitable. Those millennials got us every time. Hey, we have a guest.
We do.
We have PM Patrick Madden, my brother, on the podcast for the first time, joining us as we for the particular topic that we're going to be talking about. PM, welcome to the Captain and Madden show.
Thank you, gentlemen. Big day tomorrow for Nikolai Volkov, by the way, because May Day was a big Soviet holiday.
Oh, well, you know, he was Czechoslovakian.
Wow,
for shootsies.
Nikolai Volkov was so, not the real guy who was from Texas, I think.
No, he's from Czechoslovakia.
Oh, I thought he was from. Well, whatever. The point is, if you're in the May Day mood, bring up Nikolai singing the Soviet national anthem, and that will really get you in the spirit for May Day.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then maybe we shouldn't be in the spirit for May Day.
Wasn't the Iron Sheik a guy named Al from like Middletown or something? Like, I
know. I think he was American. I think.
No, the Iron Sheik was from legit Iran, Kosovo, Verziri.
Well,
I think everybody's skepticism about the real home countries of pro wrestlers is very blown out of proportion because Nikita Koloff was from Minnesota and the Russian bear Ivan Koloff was from British Columbia. So,
you need to do a whole episode on your other podcast, the Dropkick Basement, on this subject. And I know you and Tom bring that up. You and Tom Schultz, your co-host, drop that into the conversations, but you need to do a full episode discussing those and I know more of those oddities come up based on old wrestling. Now we all know the truth because nothing is sacred, nothing is kayfabe anymore.
That's a good point.
British Bulldogs weren't actually British.
Yeah, seriously, like we're going down those.
And they weren't Bulldogs.
No, they walked on 2 feet. Yeah, so we're going to get into our topic very shortly, but as is a custom for the Captain and Madden show, in our preamble, we have Vrabel and Rossini chatter. We really need a jingle for this. No, that's not going to work. Although, I mean, Although I will say, before we even get into like the crux of our Vrabel and Rossini chat for the week, if I'm reading these articles correctly, Mike Vrabel had to leave the team day 3 of the draft for counseling. Yes. He was taking the counseling very seriously.
Emergency counseling.
But then he's still showing up during the week at a season ticket holders event and getting a standing ovation.
The worst was the photographer who has him walking around in the airport gift shop, because it's totally like a picture of he was supposedly flying out of Logan Airport.
Right. Yeah.
To go to Utah, I believe is where his wife is, where they're supposedly the emergency
emergency counseling is okay, right?
So it was like a total complete shot of, oh wow, I'm going to meet my wife, and we're going to like, we're going to reconcile. We're going to go to this council, and I never thought of bringing her anything. So he's like going through like some like Sharper Image like store that's in the like, and now some photographer's got him. So I'm sure that went over like a Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. He's getting like a duty-free bottle of cognac or
like, oh boy, where did you get this?
I don't smoke, and then he has like 3 cartons of like duty-free cigarettes.
He's like, no, I saw this at Sharper Image, and I thought like you have all. Don't you always have problems like opening up packages from like eBay? Like now this will automatically cut the box open for you.
You like John Grisham novels? Here's 4.
It's true love because I didn't buy the paperback. I went hardcover.
Yeah. Oh, I got you a gift certificate to the Chili's Express. What a charmer. So during the week, actually at the end of last week, I did listen to and watch Pablo Torre, fine journalist. I'm a fan of Pablo Torre, by the way. Anytime he wants to have us on the show, feel free. Pablo, just call us up. But he had on noted sports scumbag David Chapman. He who meddled in the affairs of the Montreal Expos and Miami Marlins during the late 90s, early 2000s. So he had him on there discussing Rossini and Vrabel. This was actually a point that, Captain, you brought up when we first started discussing this. The involvement of Jay Glazer is sort of like key to all this. Because Jay Glazer has during the owners meeting, he has his day drinking with the coaches event where they all go to like this poolside bar and they're all sitting at tables, shooting the shit, taking selfies, broing down, and there's college coaches and everything. And it's very like weirdly influencer based. And this year, when the incriminating photos are taken of Vrabel and Rossini, she was trying to do like her version of that.
Right.
And there's 6 other owners that weren't at the Jay Glazer party that were at the really sad Rossini party, which ended up just being, just 2 friends interlocking fingers. So like this kind of puts, again, nobody's doing anything wrong other than Vrabel and Rossini who are cheating on their spouses, but like that's morally wrong. It's not illegal to like, but it certainly is suspect when it comes to like these people that are claiming to be NFL insiders that are like saying to themselves like, well, I host this party year after year so I can get together with the coaches before the season starts and we share ideas and we chat. And of course, like Glazer is either he's training everybody on MMA or he's just squirreling away information and gathering contacts so he can say, hey, my party was great. Tell me what your defensive scheme is going to be for the upcoming season before you get to OTAs. So just share your thoughts on that.
I'll give the floor to PM.
I really don't know. The thought I shared with you gentlemen before the episode started was, is Vrabel in trouble because he's cheating on his wife, or is Vrabel in trouble because he made the mistake of cheating on his wife with a famous person? And the whole notion of, we saw pictures, we had this weird thing where she names the kid Michael. Mm-hmm. There's a possibility down the road that he's going to have to take a DNA test to see if he's to see if he's the father child that she had 6 years ago. So
Maury,
that's the season 5 like teaser. Like that's the last episode.
Right, but I'm just saying there's it's just And my other thought is, what does it have to do with him winning football games?
It doesn't.
I mean, if you're saying that if he was having an affair which kept him from watching film, or it caused him to miss practices, or a whole bunch of other stuff, then yeah. But then the flip side is, how many of these coaches? First of all, these coaches don't go home during the season. Dick Vermeil, who used to coach the Eagles and the Rams back in the day, famously commented that he would sleep 4 nights a week in his office during the season. So how many of these coaches are actually home enough where their wives, actually, if they hit the ones who have wives, even though they exist during, and there was another coach, I don't remember who he was, but his son was a ball boy at one of the practices before the season started. And the coach is watching film. And the coach is like, who's that kid holding the ball? And the other coach has to say, well, by the way, it's your kid. So that coach is like,
no cats in the cradle bullshit there. Wow.
So these are not traditionally family men. These are not, let's say, none of these coaches are going for Father of the Year, because the nature of the job requires you to put in 80 to 100 hours a week during the season, and then you basically go home to sleep maybe 4 hours a night, and then you're right up and back at it again. So the fact that Vrabel is cheating on his wife is probably that doesn't make him the only coach in the history of the NFL to be a wife cheater.
Yeah, but it's high profile because she has a position as a reporter, as a NFL insider. We keep saying that, as somebody that shares a certain amount of information with the general public. We know that she's got connections, but
it's probably her. It should really be her problem.
It is her problem. And that's why she's out at the Athletic. That's why she's getting the brunt of it. We said last week that if you really thought like, well, maybe it's more of the Boston centric fan base that's going to take the moral high road and say like, well, wait a second, like, we don't like that our coach is being like brought up on these cheating charges, and this is distraction from the team. That's neither here nor there. Again, you're right. If he continues to do winning football on the field, they just keep doing what you're doing, coach. Like, more power to you. But I think the other part of this is the Patriots are playing a hush game, and they're not allowing the reporters in that Boston market, not that Boston market with the chicken, but the Boston media market, to dig as deep as they can, because they're hiding access to some of the information that would be able to kind of crack the story a little bit more wide open, how long this has been going on, so on and so forth. It's by the time you get to, probably July, this is going to be a nothing story, unless your little insight about the potential that little Michael is a love child. Like, that's an interesting, or as I said last week myself, what if this is a true love story and they both leave their spouses and they, run off together happily ever after? You never know.
Mrs. Vrabel apparently still has an interest in keeping that relationship going. So that would be for a lot of women. That would be it's funny. We're gonna transition over to something called a gumar as part of the main topic of this. Yeah. So the minute that one of those hits, the minute a lot of wives hear that, they are out. Mm-hmm. Particularly with some of the details. How long were they together? Some of the other stuff. Again, the possibility that they had a child together. Everything that goes on with it.
Right, Captain. What did you dig up during the week?
So just to kind of piggyback on your guys' points, Vrabel. Let's just say there's a lot of pressure that comes from the NFL. People outside the NFL, advertisers, all that other stuff. And they say it's not a good look for Mike Vrabel, who is cheating on his wife with a sports reporter, and all the stuff that's come out. it wouldn't be the first, whether in sports or in other industries, that your public image or public perception or what people think about you is the reason why you lose your job rather than what exactly you did. Like,
right.
There's been probably plenty of people who have been CEOs or whatever that wind up having to forced to resign because they said something stupid in an interview that doesn't mean anything with how they run their company or how they whatever. It's just a matter of they say something really bad, really off color in an interview, and then the public pushback on it. Hey, we want to be the company that represents what you said in an article. Well, maybe the New England Patriots don't want to be, which I would highly doubt, because we all know as great as Belichick was of a coach, there was a lot of scumbag shit that was happening while he was a coach.
Of course, yeah.
But nobody cared
Cheating.
about it because he was winning Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Because he was filming other teams' practices. He was deflating footballs.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on how Rodney Harrison, Junior Seau are basically being cut by teams and are told that their NFL careers are done. But suddenly they go to New England and they found the fountain of youth and they're like Pro Bowl players all of a sudden
Collusion,
again.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
I don't know how good he was with the Patriots. I don't remember. I just know that Antonio Brown was persona non grata in Pittsburgh. But then all of a sudden, Tom Brady wants him with the Patriots, and voila, here's Antonio Brown walking in the Patriots training camp.
Teddy Bruschi has a brain aneurysm and is on the field in 6 months.
Right. Yeah.
So you draw your own conclusions from that. So yes, in a roundabout way, what's really going on between the two of them is really, that's it. It's between his family and her family. She just happens to be, she's an NFL insider. Is anybody going to open up to her? Is anybody going to want to do an interview with, like, if she says, hey, I understand you're in a contract. Do you want to meet me somewhere and we could talk? Like, dude, no, I'm not meeting you somewhere. Then
absolutely.
Everyone's going to think I'm cheating on my wife with you.
There's a million spying
She automatically, and then of course the backlash is the double standard of, well, why does they're both engaging in adultery. Why does she have to lose her job, but he doesn't?
Right,
and that's really where it's going to come down to.
And that's, that's more or less by choice, but
it wasn't all just, she did try to help Mike Vrabel.
Oh, yes. This is a good find by you, by the way.
So apparently while he was a coach for the Titans in 2022, Titans went into a little bit of a end of the season 4-game losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
So just like anybody who was like an 80s or 90s kid, when you had a crush on a girl, you'd make a mixtape.
Of course. Yes,
Here, I made you a mixtape.
Right.
Well, Rossini made a playlist for Mikey.
What a romantic.
For Coach Mikey.
Coach V.
Hey, here you go. Here's a playlist. I'm going to call this the Turning the Page playlist.
Turning the Page. Right.
Would you like to know some of the songs that are on here?
I'm champing at the bit.
Some of these you might have to explain to me because I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. I'll help where I can.
Cuff It by Beyonce.
Yeah.
Big Energy by Lato.
Not familiar with that one.
Break My Soul by Beyonce.
It's another
already breaking the rule of like using the same artist twice.
That's true. Within the first 3 songs, yeah. She's bad at this.
House Party by Sam Hunt.
I don't know that one.
My Love by Route 94 and Jess Glynn.
Yeah, that sounds like country music.
This one's going to totally. Pump It Louder by the Black Eyed Peas.
All right. I would be, what is this, like 5 songs in?
6.
I'd be deleting her number out of my phone.
Raise Your Glass by Pink.
Even worse. Raise Your Glass. Ugh.
Bass Down Low by somebody named Dev and the Cataracts?
I don't know that. That sounds like dance music. Bass Down Low.
This is where like I get into like thumping. You got to be kidding me. Can't Stop by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Fucking terrible.
Yeah. By the way, if this was on I would take this mixtape and throw it out a window on the highway on the way out.
You have a history of doing that, so.
Last Resort by Papa Roach.
That would make me want
to lose another 4 games in a row.
But that's the point that we're getting at. That's sort of like this, like on the brink of suicide, and you're like, "This is my last resort." It's like we're supposed to be pumping this guy up. You got a 4-game losing streak. Like, what are you doing to him? You're mushing him.
Of all the GNR songs that you could put on a playlist to pump somebody up,
Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the Jungle. It wasn't that like a big thing for the Bengals, like during the Boomer Esiason years.
Yeah.
Photograph by Def Leppard.
She hates him. I think this is sabotage. This is like a subtle breakup.
God of Thunder by Kiss.
I mean, at least it's original lineup Kiss.
War Machine on it.
Yeah, you do. War Machine's much more of a like I'm going into battle. God of Thunder. Ugh, boring.
All right. Of all David Lee Roth Van Halen right songs, what would be like the one that you would be like, nah, this is not doing anything for me?
Jump?
No, I think like second half of a 2 for Tuesday on Q1043.
Just a Gigolo?
I'll wait.
Dance the Night Away?
Oh,
Jesus. Girl.
And of course, the last song on the playlist. All right, this is it's the redneck like theme song.
Okay.
2, it's really stupid to put on this playlist. He's the coach of the Tennessee Titans, and this song is synonymous with Hicksville in Pittsburgh. Renegade by Styx.
Oh yeah, seriously.
That pumps it. They play that bullshit garbage so that everybody can wave their terrible towel.
Yeah.
Get pumped up at a Pittsburgh Steeler game. Like,
I mean, I like
really
that,
bad job by her.
I like that song, but it has no place on this playlist.
Yes, because the playlist is random garbage.
She just hit random. Wow, who put this together?
Remember how last week you were giving her an 8 out of 10 highly recommend?
She's down to like she's lost a few steps. This is like
this playlist.
She could be sub 5 territory.
This totally is like what's my review? I'm gonna give your number to one of my friends.
Yeah. Oh, like it's seriously like if she's like, you're going back up to the hotel room with her, you're interlocking fingers, and you're getting into the room, and she's like, I'm going to put some music on. I'd be like, no, don't. Yeah. Your music taste is awful. Just take your clothes off.
I swear to God, Diana, if you put on Lady in Red, I'm going to fucking smack
seriously.
you.
Right. Oh, God, what's next? Everybody Wang Chung?
No, that's the last of it.
Yeah.
I could see her playing the Titanic song.
Yeah, seriously. Like, that's our skate. That's our couple skate. Well, all right. Well, that's some good Vrabel Rossini recap. Solid week for the two of them. We have playlists
into next week's episode.
Yeah.
when what is it like? As the world turns with with Vrabel and Rossini.
Yeah. As the DJ up next on Spotify is gonna be like, hey Diana, tough breakup with Mike Vrabel. Here's some songs you were listening to in 2022.
The problem is, even I wouldn't play half of this shit.
Yeah, seriously. Maybe I'll find you some stuff that's from this year. Anyway, so let's get on to the topic at hand. We brought PM on here, a noted Sopranos fan. How many times do you think you've watched full seasons of The Sopranos, or are you more of a, if I'm in the mood, I'll watch a couple in a row?
I think I watched through twice.
Twice? That's wow. I expected that to be in the double digits.
I mean, I've seen bits and pieces, and I've watched an episode or two here and there, but I seriously sat once during the pandemic and one time. I think it was last year, actually.
Okay, so you did your you did a little bit of your homework. So we're going to do a character study of Tony Soprano in this particular episode. Not that there wasn't already a psychiatrist that was analyzing him as part of the show itself. But we're going to do the character study. We're going to get into 3 different categories where we're going to kind of break down some highlights from Tony's life, some miscalculations. So we're gonna handle what Tony loves, what Tony hates, and what Tony's afraid of. I think the biggest part of the conversation should be what Tony loves. So I'll bring up some highlights, and I feel like you guys can expand on some of these and some of his greatest hits, so to speak, as far as the things that made him happy and excited. And the first thing, and I think this is one thing that a lot of the viewing audience can see specifically as a metaphor, and even Dr. Melfi mentions it as a metaphor. Tony loves animals. Okay, specifically. In the first season, the ducks that are living in his pool. He's broken up when the ducks leave. Melfi tells him it's a metaphor that he thinks his family is leaving him. And that's very it's more specific to his immediate family, Carmela, Meadow, AJ, the mother, Livia, to a certain extent, Uncle Junior, but not necessarily his mafia family. But he's definitely like, ducks are the first. That's the first thing that I think of when I'm like, well, what animal does Tony love the most? That's your base level, right? Any other instances that you guys can think of Tony being kind of a mush for animals?
A pile my. Given that we're heading into Kentucky Derby,
it's true. Yes,
is obviously the prime example, because that's what leads to him ultimately having the last straw with Ralphie.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was and then you get to that clip when Patsy Parisi and Albert Barisi are talking in the restaurant. Clip a guy over a horse. And that whole notion of Tony just put his heart and soul into that horse. He was taking the horse to the vet. He was paying the veterinarian.
Well, he was paying the vet to see the horse, right?
Which was stuff that Ralphie was supposed to do, but Ralphie was too busy having sex with Gumars and all the other nonsense that Ralph Citarella was involved with. And then when he finds out that Ralph kills Pylemai to get the insurance money so he can pay for his son's medical care, that's sort of like, how dare you do that? Because I love that horse. I love the fact that horse could run around a track and beat horses in other races, and then I make him money. Yeah, betting on that horse. So that's just a whole. I think Pylemai is the prime example. And of course, then right after Pylemai dies, Carmela finds out about him having an affair with the woman who was Livia's nurse, and that's what leads to their
one-legged Russian.
Yeah, that's what leads to their separation. It's sort of a prelude to, you love the horse more than you love me. So that's a very interesting perspective. I think Chase set that up so that you'd have Tony go through this whole thing where he pours his heart and soul into a horse, where he couldn't pour his heart and soul into his wife.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Captain. Thoughts about ducks and horses so far?
Well, PM kind of stole my thunder, because the first animal that I thought about that Tony loves was the one-legged Russian chick.
Come on now. We will cover the Russian. The Russian girlfriends will be brought up.
That's a tough one, man. Really? That was one of those really moments while watching the show.
Yeah.
Now the horse one. I mean, it definitely, because the point where he gets sick and he's driving down to visit the horse, and he's basically telling the veterinarian that no matter what, like, at all costs, that type of stuff. Yeah. So, I would say there was more love for Pio Mai than there was the actual. I mean, he did build the ramp and stuff for the ducks, but
yes,
I thought there was more of a connection to him and the horse, especially because it was winning him money.
Well, that's so. All right. So here's my question: is Pio Mai more of a like an emotional love, or is it like an employee because he's making money off of Pio Mai, just like he makes money off of, the money that he has in the streets, the money that he has in Barone Sanitation, the Bada Bing, all of his other businesses. I think the horse loves the horse, but it's also a revenue stream for him.
Never betray him.
Well, if the horse lost a bunch of races and he lost money, that horse would have been persona non grata.
Just the horse, as opposed to all the humans who he allegedly loved, not only romantically, but people like Christopher and people like Junior and all those other people. All of those people could, and he perceived that a lot of them betrayed him at one point or another.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it was also a power play with Ralphie. Like he goes down there, he wins some money. There's that scene where Ralphie goes to give him some money and he still has the bundle.
Yeah.
And Tony's looking down at him, and Ralphie keeps on piling the money on until finally Tony is happy about it. And the idea of because he's telling the trainer and stuff oh, you should let it out, or whatever horsing terminology. Everyone was like, oh, well, Tony, you're a genius. A lot about horses. It's one of those things where his ego, kind of takes over. Plus the fact of he doesn't really. I don't think he really likes Ralphie, and this is he basically just wedges himself in and takes the guy's horse.
He's cucking. So. He's cucking Ralph with the horse. In not to bring it up in sort of rude terms like that, but yeah, at a certain point, it's well, this is Ralph's horse, and Tony's well, we can make a little bit of money into look how much money we're making with it, and I actually the trainer likes me and communicates with me better than Ralph does. So why wouldn't I reap more benefits and make get a kickback of Ralph's money? And he absolutely boxes him out, which is also why Ralph is fuck that horse. I'm not going down there to the stable. I have pipe to lay here with my side piece. So it's
let's circle back on Ralph for a second though. And one of the disappointments Tony probably had, one of the things that Ralph never really took things entirely seriously. You have the relationship with Rosie April. Actually, right. I think before that, you start with the relationship with Janice.
No, it was. I
think Janice.
Roe before Janice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the whole notion of who he didn't take the Rosie April thing seriously, and that pissed Tony off because Tony felt he needed to protect Rosie April because he was so close to Jackie Sr.
Yeah, of course.
And then, of course, there's Janice, who Tony's going to feel a need to, take care of because it's his sister. Yeah. And then you get the whole Johnny Sack joke, which means he's not really taking business seriously enough because he feels a need to crack some stupid joke in front of a lot of people about one of the more important guys on the other end of their construction business in New York.
Yes.
So it's the whole notion of, Ralph is in general a goof off, and this horse is just the last example of something which Ralph didn't take seriously. It's also something where Tony has to cover up. Then you get the Jackie Jr., same principle. He's not keeping a good enough eye on Jackie Jr. when Jackie Jr. was screwing around and then broke up the card game. And it's what, Ralphie, you don't take anything seriously, and it's pissing me off, and this is how it is. You do that to your boss, and your boss is going to whack you. So,
well, yes. Well, we're definitely going to get into Ralph a little bit later in different categories for sure. But just to my last point on animals. Towards the end of the series, after Christopher dies, there's the cat that they sort of like take in that Paulie Walnuts thinks has Christopher's like ghost in him and is like haunting Paulie Walnuts. And Tony's like, the cat stays. I love the cat. He's great. So that's like the last, that's sort of like maybe the bridge to, metaphorically, it's a bridge to Christopher's soul. And he's like, Tony sort of understands that, like, yeah, that could be it. Like the cat's hanging around because Chris is inhabiting him. But it still shows Tony's soft side to animals is still strong throughout, from the first episode all the way to almost the last episode, where he's just.
Let not forget how pissed off Tony got during the Christopher intervention when he found out.
Oh, did he sat up? That's right.
That he sat on her dog.
That he killed the dog. Yeah,
because he was basically passed out from heroin.
You killed a fucking dog. Yeah,
you killed a fucking dog.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
What the fuck is the matter with you?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. So that's the first great love of Tony's life is animals. And I think we're going to power rank right now. Like we're circling Pai Oh My, maybe Tony's greatest love of all time.
One-legged Russian is in second place though.
Well, let's see. Yeah.
I love that.
Let's break that down next. Tony loves cheating. In addition to the one-legged Russian, there's the original Russian. There's Gloria Trillo, the Mercedes-Benz dealer. There is the myriad of bada bing strippers that he's getting lap dances and blowjobs and all this stuff from. The prankster, I call her the prankster, which is Ralph Cifaretto's side piece that made Ralph step in the shit at the horse barn, that Tony ends up getting together with, and subsequently like stayed with her for quite a while. You think she would be gone, but then maybe it was the next season after Ralph got killed, was that she was cooking for him and had too much grease on the pan and set herself on fire. To which shortly after, Tony's like, I'm getting back together with my wife. I don't know what you're going to do.
Not you. It's not you, it's me.
So I'm not going to necessarily say that Tony loves any of these women specifically, other than maybe Melfi, who he actually doesn't get to sleep with. That's the one that he kind of pines for a little bit. But in general, Tony loves cheating on his spouse or even his like side pieces. Wandering Eye Tony. Thoughts, Captain? We'll go to you first, because
different than any other gangster.
Well,
I mean, the circle.
PM.
Let's
hear what the captain has to say about this. He's got a few notes, and we'll come
PM
to you.
Can go first. PM can go first.
I'll let you make sure you point Corby out the next time to bounce his idea. What makes him? You go back to Goodfellas, and you talk about one of the iconic scenes is when Janice, Dr. Melfi, by the way,
right.
Irony of ironies, runs to the apartment and goes to Janice Rossi's and says,
"Yes,
that's my man. Get your own blah blah blah."
Get your own goddamn man. Right.
The whole Gumar situation is, again, it's the idea of being able to fulfill your needs.
Yes.
And Tony has a need for money. Tony has a need for food. Tony has a need. And
he gets fed by all these women too. That's a great point.
We talk about a guy who just lost the Super Bowl as a coach, who is cheating on his wife. So that's just the nature of what a lot of men are, unfortunately. So it's the whole notion of he loves the idea he can have his cake and eat it too, so to speak.
Right.
I can put on this show with Carmela and keep up appearances, but then it's that one line in Goodfellas. Friday night was for the wives, Saturday night was for the girlfriends.
Right.
So same principle with Tony. With I put Carmelo out there to put a good face in front of everybody, but maybe sidetrack. Do you ever notice that? Who is Steven Van Zandt's character again?
Silvio.
Silvio. Ever notice Silvio didn't have good? Silvio claimed to have Gumar,
but he ran a strip club.
That doesn't. Yeah, but that doesn't. We never. Maybe we saw him a couple of.
He had a casting couch.
There's a couple of moments that here and there where you kind of see him. The one guy who doesn't have a Gumar or a side piece or whatever is the one that's taking care of Uncle June, who loses.
Oh, Bobby Bacala. Yeah.
But and everyone shits on him for being faithful to his wife.
Yes.
Johnny Sack didn't have a Gumar either, by the way.
It's not that we know of.
Wow.
It was never shown. Well, his wife's ass was big enough for him. Like,
right.
That was like two women anyway.
It's fair play. But
like in the world of being in the mob and macho and everything, like how many times throughout the series that like people kind of shit on Bacalari because he was always faithful to his wife.
Yeah, exactly.
How long when she passed away in the car accident, like basically all the guys were like, "You got to get over it."
Yeah, it took him a while.
Just like, dude,
loved his wife.
Yeah.
So now that I'm thinking about it, does Tony love cheating or does Tony love 2 dinners a night?
I think to quote another movie, Mel Brooks's History of the World Part 1, it's good to be the king.
It is.
When you're the boss, you could do whatever the fuck you want, and no one's gonna say anything. So if you walk into Silvio's strip club and there's a hot chick up there, you basically look at Silvio, and the next thing you know, they're in the back room. Yeah. And it's just one like, look, like I not that we're gonna get into like a rating system, but like Gandolfini's not the best looking dude, but all these women all these women are kind of throwing themselves at him because, he's the mob guy. Like he
exerts power. He's
blah, blah, blah. Like the quote unquote Gumars. I mean, some of them are way at like, he totally outkicks his coverage with some of them.
Certainly does.
Just remember though, Corby, at the end of the day, every one of the women who work at the Bada Bing really work for Tony. Right. Silvio is technically the guy in charge,
right? But
who's in charge of Silvio? Tony.
Right. Yes.
So Tony. I guess Tony's the guy who Tony is really their boss. Even though Silvio is technically the person they report to.
Yes. That's very much in a roundabout way the way to look at it. I will still vouch for my favorite of the girlfriends is I think Prankster would win on this one. She seemed like a lot of fun.
Is that the one that burned?
That's the one that burned. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one that caused Tony to freak out about is Emily Zelda.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the original Russian. The original Russian. Yeah.
Because she's obviously a part of a lot of stories.
Oh, yeah. She's got a big mouth.
She must be Tony must have had really strong feelings for her.
He did.
He turned around and took a belt to somebody.
Zellman got his comeuppance for that one.
It was a one night thing, but don't forget about the chick that was out in, was it Vegas? That was,
when he took peyote.
Christopher?
Yeah. I got it. All right. Well, there you go. The next thing that I've noted here that Tony loves, and this is going to sound weird, he loves disappointments, people that give him a chance to lecture them. Here's a few instances. Christopher. He was always lecturing Christopher. Whenever he made a mistake, Tony would bring him aside, tell him what he did wrong. AJ, a source of constant disappointment, but at the end of the day, Tony loved the chance to give him a lecture. Jackie Jr., same sort of deal. Artie Bucco, you keep making mistakes with this restaurant. I keep giving you money. That's why I'm not paying my tab, because you don't know how to run this place without me. And then Sporting Goods Dave, the degenerate gambler who Tony basically bought his sporting goods business. And then because Dave was...
I think he just took it.
Still such a degenerate gambler. He ended up getting Dave's son's car and gave it to Meadow in one of her more impressive tantrums. So let's talk about disappointing people in Tony's lives, and then Tony's just almost like giddiness when he gets to give these people lectures.
Oh, because that gives him power when all right, well, I told you, but you didn't listen to me, and here you are. Like, I told you not to get involved in the card game, but you owe me 40 grand. That's why I told you to stay away.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm gonna teach you a lesson. This is who I am. This is what I do.
Yeah. College funds. He'll take those college funds and liquidate them in a minute.
By the way, like I think, if memory serves me correct, wasn't it like 40 grand he was in the hole?
45 boxes, 45,000.
Yeah,
45,000.
And
so between his son's college,
the other guy,
8,
Richie Aprile.
Oh, that's right. He did owe Richie Aprile money too. Damn.
All right. So between his sporting goods store, all of the inventory that's in the sporting goods store,
mm-hmm.
the amount of airline tickets that they ran up on the account
on his right, yeah,
like the college fund, the car, I think that would have covered the 45 grand.
He could have been square, but that's probably.
There's also a VIG too, by the way.
Yeah,
he's probably charging Dave about a 3 or 4, meaning he has to pay him like 3% of the 3% interest on the 45,000.
I never agreed to 3 points above the VIG. What am I, schmuck on wheels?
Schmuck on wheels. Well, I think Dave's a schmuck on wheels. And
I'm just saying, like, I think between like everybody grabbing a cooler, all the shit that they were taking out of the sporting goods, like all the inventory and stuff that they were selling, like taking it out the back, like I think it was like 20 grand worth of airline tickets that they ran up on the credit. I think he probably would have, even if he was getting 3% a day, like I think he would have paid that up pretty quickly.
Well, then you have to ask, like, how successful is a sporting goods store?
Remember he talked in the card game about, he talked in the executive game about how the other places, I forgot what other places he was talking about. He might have been talking about Fanatics or a couple of other places which were able to do licensing products.
Yes.
And they would not only do that, but they would also sell sporting goods, and that put a dent into his. But then he was bragging about, but I've got this idea where I'm going to get my business back or get more business on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think an overriding principle of all these people who Tony disappoints is that Tony is a flawed man himself, and it's this idea that I may not be smart, I may not be faithful to my wife, I may get into my own debts myself. And remember, because Tony had a bigger gambling problem than Dave did.
Yeah.
If you circle back to the last season when he's taking the $200,000 loan from Hesh, and he's caught in the same boat that Dave ended up. Although Tony had the power over, because Tony was a psychopath, and he
was running the mafia as well. So it's
if he wanted to. So the point is, he likes picking on people who he sees are weaker than he is.
Yeah.
And it's just this whole idea that, okay, Dave, you've got a bigger gambling problem than I do. Christopher, you've got a bigger problem with drugs than I do. AJ, you're doing things wrong that I was doing as a kid, and you're doing it worse than I am. So it's this whole idea that nah, I'm even though I'm a degenerate, you're more degenerate than I am, and I'm going to hold that over your head.
Yeah. Well, that's ultimately
what would be the, is there an inferiority thing with, like, well, what if Christopher was demonstrated to be better business wise than Tony, or if any of the other guys in his crew seem to be smarter, or I would imagine, I mean, he got the boss title or whatever, but it was kind of like, well, you got it because Uncle Junior's in he's in court.
Yeah.
Like, so if anybody else demonstrated any abilities, like, wouldn't that put him like in an instance of like, well, we'll just take Tony out and then replace him with this guy?
Hold that thought, because that will come up in another. That'll come up in another section. We're definitely going to touch on that, because as much as Tony loves a disappointment that he can hold it over, somebody that's got a little bit of ingenuity in or around his crew, they've got a target on their back. So we're gonna come back to that in the next section. A couple quick hits here that don't really need to expand on it. Just shooting off of Sporting Goods Dave. Tony loves golf equipment, but it doesn't seem like he's committed to playing golf. Tony loves classic rock. Q1043 in particular is his favorite radio station. Tony loves salty meats. Like almost at an addictive, like an addictive personality. But also, Tony loves a fat guy. Look at his crew.
Well,
you have big pussy,
Bobby Bacala,
fatter dude. Yeah, Vito. He loves having fat dudes around him. Do you think that there's something to that? Again, like much like the disappointments.
It's the way the mafia is. I don't think it really has anything to do with. I don't know who. I even want to say Silvio's overweight.
Yeah, yeah.
You go there too. I mean,
Charlie Walnuts is the only one who looks like you've really kicked somebody's ass.
And all he does is he just does bicep curls. Christopher can fight a little bit, but I mean, they couldn't take down the big Russian
and dyeing the wingtips on the side of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got more time slotted in the manicur's chair, getting his fingernails clear polished than he does in the actual gymnasium. So, but yeah, Tony loves a fat guy. He likes to keep them close to him. Tony also loves independent partners. These are business people that can help Tony make money away from the mafia and that come to him for advice and come to him for different ventures. Here's a few for examples. He loves Hesh. Hesh was his father's friend. Hesh knows about horses, knows about music. He loves Hesh. Adriana, running that club down in Asbury Park or wherever down the shore that it was supposed to be. He loves that idea of her working independent and her running that business and never having to come to him with a handout saying, hey, bail me out, Tony, help me. Carmela's dad and his construction business. He loves the idea that Carmela's dad is making all that money, as a building contractor with his inspections, all of that stuff. To a certain extent, Cousin Brian, because Cousin Brian gives him all that financial advice. And then also Johnny Sack. To a certain extent, they have partnerships, but he loves that Johnny Sack is a mover and shaker for the New York side of things. Let's talk about his independently wealthy partners that he seems to gravitate towards.
You go first, PM.
Well, it's all about money. It's all about, again, that's the whole, he loves being rich enough where he can buy women to have sex with, to get all the food he wants, to build a whole movie theater in his basement, to get the nice car, to be able to get a new Suburban every year or whatever that big car.
Right.
The whole notion of, he aspires to be the boss because he knows the boss makes all the money. And these people, look, I mean, it's this whole thing. You go back to that scene when he's in the room with the captains. I think of Ralphie and Albert Barone and the two other guys, Carlo and Ray Serto. He's in the room with them and he tells them, "Where's the money? You're supposed to be the earners."
Yeah.
And the job of the earners is to find people out there who they can, the whole notion of skylarking is, you need $100,000 that you can't borrow anyplace else. you borrow it from Tony Soprano, and you pay Tony Soprano 2% interest on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Tony Soprano makes the money, because he continues to collect the 2% interest on top of the capital.
Yes.
That's the whole notion of it. So he goes to these people, like, for example, when you look at when Carmela building the spec house with, I forgot what his name was, Carmela's father, but he has a name.
Hugh. Yeah.
He's doing a deal with his father-in-law. And the whole notion of is, I'm going to invest all of this money with the idea that when you flip this house, I collect what I put into it plus another, let's say, $25,000, $50,000,
mm-hmm.
and you collect $20,000 here, $30,000 here, and you're the mogul that Tony Soprano apparently is.
But that's my point, is that there's ingenuity outside of his crime family that Tony respects and gravitates and shows more respect to them than he does to the guys that even somebody like, I think he respects Silvio a great deal, but I think that's more of a personal respect than it is like a business respect. I think without Tony's money, Silvio would have a hard time running the Bada Bing. So in that sense, like, he sees all of these other people kind of wheeling and dealing in the world around him and kind of proving it. And this is the type of thing, whether he's giving them advice, sharing advice, or just watching them from a distance and like nodding his head and saying, like, if my guys work just as hard as these people on these like wings, I'd be able to retire and walk away from this safely. So
I think at the end of it, he is a mob guy. He's a criminal.
Yes.
So when he sees somebody like, obviously the guys in his crew, hey, you're supposed to go out and you're supposed to collect whatever it is a month. I don't care how you do it, as long as I get my money. PM's point of like, people go to him like, hey, I need $100,000 real quick, and I don't need anybody. Like, I don't want to fill out bank forms.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you go to a Tony, and then you're going to pay a high interest on it, and you're going to have to pay it back real quick.
Yeah.
When he meets all these other people throughout the series, that like her nephew or whatever, the guy, the investor guy,
Cousin Brian, right?
Cousin Brian. Tony's not smart enough to do what Cousin Brian does. But what Tony is good at is he'll warm up to the guy. He'll take him out somewhere. He'll buy him a new suit.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do all these things so that this guy, like, hey, why don't you put all your money into this? Or why don't you start working with me? And then he knows at the end of it, well, if I start losing money with this guy, he's not a mob guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a criminal. Like, all I have to do is flex a little muscle, send somebody over, and this guy's going to shit himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever, like, he'll make sure that either I don't lose any more money or I'm going to get paid back in full. So that's always their thing, is basically using the fear of, hey, I'm connected. I got a cousin Christopher that's going to come over and beat the shit out of you,
mm-hmm.
or one of cousin Christopher's weirdo friends like that, are going to intimidate the shit out of you. So when he meets those people that are outside of the mob world, it's, well, I'm not smart enough to do what they do, but I am smart enough to get myself into the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
And play along with you, and then make you feel like you can trust me, and I'll make money off of you. And then when I stop making money off of you, I still have the backing of the mob to get myself out of it.
Yeah, right, exactly. I have my own ways of paying this off. Or
the father-in-law thing, though, I think is a little bit different. I
Mm-hmm.
think the reason why he got along with the father-in-law so much was because I don't think the father-in-law ever really gave him shit about being in the mob. Like, he knew who Tony was.
Well, he had his own family members that were connected. Like, that's the Dicky Maltasanti tree.
Right. But I also kind of think, like, he didn't have to worry about his father-in-law coming to him, like he had his own bit, he had a construction bit. He had his own, so it wasn't like her old man was ever going to come to him and be like, oh, I need money for that. Or like, oh, we're all going away to Florida on vacation. Well, you're paying for all of it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like one of those type of things. So I think that was where the mutual respect was, because the idea of them building the house and all that stuff was really a Carmelo thing that basically he was like, all right, yeah, like I'll give you money to start the house up. But remember, it's as it went along, it became less about this isn't your project. This is my project because it's my money that went into this.
Yes.
So I'm going to get recouped first before whatever you make. And that was another thing that pissed Carmelo off about him. So
absolutely. So we're closing the chapter on what Tony loves. I think the winner in that category is Pie Oh My by a landslide. That horse is the most important thing that ever touched Tony's life.
I think it's still food.
And it still might be, right. It's a man likes 2 dinners. Let's get into the stuff that Tony.
Ziti?
Yeah. Is that Carmelo Ziti with the basil? As a junior line, but let's get into the things that Tony hates. And the first thing that comes to my mind, which is kind of an offshoot of just what we talked about, Tony hates kiss-ass overachievers that are in his orbit. You see it time after time where somebody either is doing well in his group and wants to brag about it, or they have their own idea and they come to Tony to talk about it, and it turns into just Tony in the Stonewall moment. Like, hey, that's great for you, but we're not doing that right now. Ralph Cifaretto is, when he finally gets motivated to do stuff, because this is the thing that you realize, Tony knows that Ralph is an earner. Whether Ralph is an earner because his guys in his crew bust their ass to do that, and some of them are going to come up in this category too, or Ralph is actually has some ingenuity to him. The bottom line is that anytime that he turns around and wants to get a pat on the back from Tony, Tony realizes he's just being an ass kisser, and Tony wants nothing to do with him and will cuck him and shove him down as fast as possible. He does the same thing with Christopher on occasion. Christopher wants to shoot movies. He wants to write scripts. Tony's like, you're in this thing. This is a family thing. You can't leave. Stop trying to use your brain. You had fun in that Hollywood thing. That's great. Are we making money off of this? No? Then I don't need you involved with that. So anytime Christopher wants to do something outside and he brings it to Tony, or he wants to change the way they do things, Tony's like, not the time. He ends up being spiteful to the 2 guys that are on Ralph's crew, Vito Spatafor. Once Vito becomes a very good earner, Tony loves it because he loves the money, but then Vito becomes persona non grata just as quickly, and Vito is very much an ass kisser. More to Carmela catches wind of it, and she's like, I don't really trust that guy, and then bleeds that into Tony when Tony was in the coma. And also Eugene, out of nowhere, Eugene becomes everybody's favorite for about 3 episodes. And he inherits the money from the dead aunt, I think, in Florida. He wants to retire and move to Florida and get some money moving down there. And Tony tells him no. He keeps telling him no. The son's on drugs. The whole 9 yards, very much a tragic character because he does end up hanging himself. And then the other one that's kind of an outlier, I think Tony also secretly hates Finn. And it's not because Finn completely kisses Tony's ass. Finn's very nebbish and very guarded around Tony. And he doesn't want to share as much because he thinks anything that he says is going to set Tony off. And when he did try to pay for the dinner the one time, Tony blew a gasket and told him he's never doing that. He pays for dinners until it's your family that you're paying a dinner for. So let's talk about the overachievers and the ass kissers that are in Tony's orbit that he hates.
Where do we start first?
I mean, who do you want to attack? Or do you want to sympathize with these people and attack Tony? You could take it to that.
Well, the Vito thing is very, if you want to say like what hasn't aged well,
Okay.
like from the series. Okay, like the only thing that Vito did wrong is that he's gay. Right? Like that was the whole thing. He's a real.
He also, by being gay, cheats on his wife, who happens to be Phil Leotardo's cousin.
Yes.
So in effect, you're cheating. What they don't really explain until the last season is the connection between the New York crew and the New Jersey guys, and we don't realize that Phil, whoever's leading the Lubatarsis, whether it's Carmine Sr. or it's Johnny Sack or it's Phil, is that there's a dotted line from Tony to whoever is running the New York family. And, basically what Vito did was cheated, even though it's with a man, with a maid guy's wife. So
and somebody on the other side of the fence, it could jeopardize their business.
So what I'm saying is, if he had a Gumar, nobody would have really cared.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Depending on who that Gumar was, but yes. And he claimed he had Gumars.
He did. They talked to the one, and she hadn't seen him, but that's neither here nor there because she's not connected.
He seems to be one of the only people in Tony's crew who really has their shit together. When Tony goes into the coma, he looks around and says, you know what? If Tony doesn't come out of this is an opportunity to show New York I can run. Everybody else is kind of just like, they don't know what to do without Tony. Like, he's the one making real money. I mean, the fact of like the whole thing with him giving the money to Carmela, a little bit reluctantly, but none of them ever really want to give up any money. He was trying to show people that hey, when Tony's not around, out of all these clowns that are left over, I'm the best qualified to run this thing. So I don't think it was as much as hey, I'm kissing Tony's ass. I think it was more for the fact of I'm a really good earner. I'm smarter than these other guys. I'm not, what, somebody does something. The first thing I'm not thinking about just hey, let's put a hit on him, blah, blah. I'm always thinking 3 steps ahead of these other guys. And I'm just sitting here waiting for my opportunity to move up, to be noticed. And when Tony goes into the coma, when he's in the hospital, plus when Tony comes out and Vito goes missing, everybody else is oh, he's a whatever. Yeah, you gotta put a bullet in his head. And Tony's the only one sitting there going
he's making me money.
He's making a lot of money, and he's the smartest one out of all of you guys. So he was the last one he was the one that was reluctant to be he thought harder about putting a hit on Vito than he did on anybody else.
Yeah. Well, to a certain extent, Jackie Jr. would be the only one.
Fiance, Adriana. That didn't seem like it was that hard of an up. That wasn't he tossed and turned about that one. But Vito, he seemed to kind of yeah, I get it. He's with other dudes, and I know what it perception is and blah blah blah. But he makes me real money.
So it's I think there's a reluctant respect that's held to him, but there are flashes after he comes out of the coma of him kind of side-eyeing Vito based on what Carmela had told him, that she didn't really trust him. The rest of the crew kind of being he's making moves, and Paulie in particular kind of goes off because he's trying to take half of the sportsbook business, and there's
Paulie was threatened by Vito. Paulie was threatened by Christopher. Paulie was threatened by basically everybody in the crew.
Yeah.
Because
we're going to get to Paulie in a minute too. Believe me. But because I don't think there's a lot of love lost for Paulie, but I do still think that everything that went down with Vito, in the long run, when he actually took a breath and thought about it, he was probably like, it was better to kill him because he was more harm based on the potential if he came home, if the wife had said you have to go to counseling. He's not as strong of a person as Tony in Tony's mind, and he's going to flip and he's going to, spill all our secrets because, we don't have that high regard for a gay man to begin with, let alone somebody that might be affiliated with us. Like, this makes us look terrible. And that's a far-sighted thing. The money should outweigh what they do in their lifestyle, but it's still like, that's where it makes it a compelling storyline. And yeah, he's an interesting crux there. What about Ralph or Christopher in this category?
Remember, when you're in the family, you're supposed to be loyal to the family, and whatever the rules are. Now, to sort of cycle back, I don't want to talk about Goodfellas too much, but remember when Maury was the one who brought the Lufthansa heist to their attention. Maury's job at that point is to sort of shut up and not all be about where's my cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And ultimately, of course, Maury gets killed. Maury's the first guy whacked over it because of that. So when you're Christopher and you're Vito and you're Ralphie, you're supposed to do your business, make your money, and give your tribute to Tony, and you not bragging about it. Of course, it's interesting. Then you make a parallel over to the New York side, and how everyone in New York was looking to stab somebody else in the back.
Yeah.
The whole Carmine asked Tony to do the hit on Johnny Sack. Johnny Sack asked Tony to do the hit on Carmine. Then they're all looking to kill each other. Is Carmine going to kill Phil? Is Phil going to kill Carmine? Unfortunately, Frankie Valli gets whacked.
It's true.
Along the way,
Mayor of Munchkinland.
At least they're all honest about the way.
Yeah, their scumbag behavior, right?
They all just hate each other, and they all want to be boss, and they're going to kill the next guy to get it. Whereas these New Jersey guys we're talking about are all passive aggressive. I mean, of course, there was the scene, I think, when Ralphie and Johnny Sack were friendlier, where Ralphie goes to Johnny Sack and says, I need to kill Tony because Tony's on my butt about killing the prostitute.
Yes.
And of course, Johnny Sack says, pills are easier to kill suicide. So it's the whole, they don't have a loyalty. All these guys are all loyal to themselves before they're loyal to anybody else, including the family. Mm-hmm. And they have to placate Tony so that Tony doesn't decide to turn on them. Ultimately, he sort of does on all of those guys because he would have killed Vito before Phil killed Vito. So
that's a good point. That's interesting. Tony also hates freeloaders. And in this category is your Paulie Walnutses, Janice, Carmela herself,
Livia,
Feach when he gets out of prison, and Little Carmine to a certain extent. Like, these are guys that sort of like leech advice, money, time, as the kids say these days, aura from him. Livia for sure, that's a little bit more like deep diving psychological. You made me the person that I am today. That's why he kind of hates her, I think. But this category of freeloader, I think the person that you circle in this category the most, and yes, he did a lot of good things for her and he protected her in different pockets, but Janice was like she's the bane of his existence in most of the series because she never works a goddamn day in her life, and her knee-jerk reaction anytime she gets herself into a little bit of trouble is to look back at Tony and say, I'm your big sister, you owe me.
Janice is good, though, at hooking up with the right guys.
Of course.
Richie Creel.
She's
Ralph,
a spun. She's a leech.
And then ultimately Bobby Bacala. But it's all a matter of this is her way to get into the family. I get into the family by marrying another mobster. I can I can I can scheme with Ralphie or with Richie or with. It was a little bit trickier with Bobby, but even Bobby towards the end was looking for ways to sort of skim stuff off the top.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting very ambitious towards the end. So it's all a matter of, and I know how things work because, obviously I grew up with this.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up seeing my father and my uncles do all this, mafia stuff. So, she's sort of doing strategy for guys like Ralphie and Richie and to a lesser extent Bobby. Because Bobby wouldn't go for that type of stuff. Bobby was quote unquote a company man.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's not think she might be on this project or that project at any given time. But Janice is working things without working things, so to speak.
Which would be crazy to think if she actually took 2 minutes and maybe said, I'm going to open up a shop or a small business that I can get money from my brother, knowing that, yes, I'm going to have to pay him a percentage of it back, but I can use my connections to have a business and do that. And she never did that because she's lazy.
Trying to sell Christian records with that weird guy?
With the guy at the narcolepsy guy.
They were trying to sell Christian records for a while.
Yes.
And that didn't pay off.
Yes. Because she thought she was a musician and a singer.
Right.
She sucked.
She really didn't want to,
No.
she's, look, and all those women, let's be honest, except to a lesser extent, Carmela, didn't really want to work.
No.
Rosalie April never worked a day in her life.
No, not at all.
But, she manages to hook up with the right guys.
You're married into it.
Get all the money. And the only reason that Big Pussy's wife worked was because she ran out of money.
Yes. And
so she had to keep the auto shop open.
Right.
So all these women had their quote what I've heard the phrase called the MRS degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to, they're not there to really work. The only reason Carmela gets into it is that Carmela's got this fear out there that she's got to have some money for herself in case Tony blows all the money away.
Mm-hmm. Captain?
I always thought Janice's character was supposed to be a continuation of the mother in a weird way, because mother would always have first season or into the second season before she passes, always had that thing of saying the right thing, doing the push Tony's buttons. So, Janice comes in, of all the people to hook up with in the crew, which, by the way, I always kind of wondered, how, in the world of the mob, hooking up with the boss's sister. I thought that would be kind of hands off. But whatever.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So of all the people
Janice
at that time,
is making her own rules, as we have found out.
So when Janice comes back from Seattle, of all the people at the time that she could hook up with, the one that Tony's having the biggest problem with is Richie Aprilla.
Yeah.
So she hooks up with him.
Yeah, like a moth to a flame.
Which is basically, oh, well, Richie can give me the life of a mob wife.
Yeah, remember what he said to Tony when Tony confronted him about, Tony, we have history together. And then Tony says, well, I know guys in the can who are better looking than my sister.
Yeah, seriously.
So then, all right, so the whole Richie Aprilla thing ends. She gets in over her head, whatever. Tony's got to come and bail her out. Then she hooks up with Ralph, who is the one person at that time out of anybody that's involved in the Tony has the biggest problem with Ralph at the moment.
But Ralph was also with Jackie April's wife. He's with Ro.
Which I seem to be fine with until basically Jackie Jr. gets killed.
Yeah, exactly.
And let's not circle back to eventually when everybody kind of finds out that Richie's a little, not all that, kind of got some weird habits too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He finds out from the burn victim, Gumar.
Yeah, yeah.
And then confirmed later by Janice. But And then the third guy that Janice finally hooks up with, well, she can't hook up with Uncle June because that would be really gross.
No, come on.
So let me hook up with the guy who's taking care of Uncle Junior.
Yes.
Who Tony has a big problem with at the moment.
Yes, exactly.
So basically, all that Janice pretty much does is hook up with guys that Tony has issues with, or is connected to whoever is giving him the most, stress or whatever at that time, because basically she's acting just like her mother. And then when they're not talking about whatever boyfriend that she has or whatever's going on, she always brings up, well, I found mom's record collection.
Yes,
I found mom's this.
Right.
Do you remember when mom did like, she's always bringing up things because she knows that basically talking about mom pisses Tony off.
Yes.
So she's a constant agitator.
Right, exactly. She's a button pusher. She's an agitator. She's a source for stress.
If Tony would have basically said, how about you open up some sort of herbal store in fucking Newark. I'll pay for everything. You go in and run the place.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about money. She would have been fine. She would have left Tony alone. But because Tony always looked at it as, oh, where you live in? Oh, Seattle. What happened to this?
Yeah,
what happened
where's
to
Harpo?
that? Where's Harpo? Why couldn't they have one episode where that kid actually?
Please bring Harpo.
Oh. I think he did.
Did they?
That was the guy who Bakula went to Canada to shoot.
Oh, that's your theory? Is that he killed Harpo?
There's a possibility that he killed Harpo.
Oh.
What are they killing Harpo for?
Well, because he didn't know it was Harpo.
Harpo was...
but the whole idea was that Harpo is French-Canadian.
Yeah.
So he's hanging around Quebec, and they're vacationing in the Adirondacks.
I
thought that was somebody. I thought that somebody ripped him off in a train deal.
Yeah, I thought it was not a train deal.
It was drugs.
Shooting guys over cabooses.
It just by coincidence that guy was. The urban legend is that was Harpo.
That's a hell of a theory. That makes me want to go back and watch that episode. Another episode where Tony loves his golf clubs, but this they played one round of golf while they were in the Adirondacks.
That's because every time he goes to a golf, he goes to a club or whatever, they're prejudiced against Italians, and he's tired of it.
Yeah.
He's tired of having all these business guys ask, do you whack people?
Yeah, I know.
Dude, I'm trying to play a par 5 here.
Not in my backswing. Whack you.
Dude, I'm about to par on this hole. Could you leave me alone? I don't really want to talk about, John Gambini right now. Come on, leave me alone.
Yeah, focus on the game. Here's another funny thing, just real fast. You just brought up minorities. Tony hates minorities. All of the minorities on that show that interact with him at a certain point love Tony Soprano. And still he harbors the resentment in some way about them, and he always gets the comeuppance on them. He could have been nice to the cop who gave him the ticket after he got let go from the police force. And met him at Fountains of Wayne. He did try and put money into his pocket, and kind of pay him off. But there's just so many instances where Tony's kind of side eyeing the minorities that are kind of being nice to him in his world, and engaging with conversation with him, and he just sort of stonewalls them. But c'est la vie.
I don't know if we're allowed to reference the many saints in Newark. If that's out of bounds,
I'll allow it.
But just remember that when Johnny Soprano gets out of jail and Uncle Junior's driving him back, and he sees that there's a black family in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
He rips into Junior and says,
right.
"How the heck did you allow a black, whatever the phrase he was using at the time?"
Yeah.
Said, how do you allow that? So, unfortunately, the people in The Sopranos want to play on this notion that the mafia people didn't. Of course, then ultimately the tension in that movie was the fact that the black guys were trying to horn in on the numbers game.
Right, it's true.
So,
true.
It's just a whole notion of it. I think the color that Tony saw the most, of course, was green.
Of course.
If he, for example, they needed to bring in the African American guy on the HUD scandal.
Yes.
Because the black guy had to be the one who was buying the houses, and he was using the federal money, and Zellman set the whole thing up, and Tony was going to
longtime friends with Zellman
houses, right. So they needed the one guy who was a minority who needed the federal assistance. So as long as they were making the money, he was fine with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he still slurred him.
Well, wouldn't mob, if you're gonna base mob shows or mob movies based on like what their thoughts or what their feelings was, I mean, that's been that the black community has always looked at how the mob is run as that's how we need to get our shit.
Yes,
like, we need to have like how many times do you watch a movie or whatever that involves like a black gang
and their hero is Scarface?
Scarface right. Or whatever. Like, so it's always like, we need to get more like the Italians and organize our shit rather than what we're doing now. And there's always been like that thing of like, even though, they may listen to some of their music and blah, blah, blah. There's always been like a nose down, I detest like they're okay for what we need them for.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the last thing we want is for them to come in and move in on whatever we're doing.
That's right. Yeah, it's a handshake, but it's at an arm's length. It's a distant.
Remember in Goodfellas, the first one that got whacked was Stax.
That's true.
All he did was he felt, they got prints off of him in the car. So
wild stuff. And the final category that we're going to talk about is what Tony is scared of. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this, Tony obviously has a lot of like lucid dreams and sort of like nightmares in this particular series, on and off, from the beginning all the way to the last episodes. So Tony has visions of dead relatives talking to him all the time. He has inanimate objects that are coming to life and talking to him. He's got severed corpses of people that he's killed in his professional life that are coming back to haunt him. It seems like he's also afraid of monks and being slapped by monks. That happens. So those are on the surface. Dialed in, Tony is afraid of Russians. Whether they're business partners, sexual partners, to him, they are interfering with his business. He still has to be connected. But if you watch the certain scenes, even though he may talk tough to Svetlana and her sister, he's still sort of like, he has a guarded respect to them. And I think that's couched in fear. Plus also his dealings with, in the Pine Barrens episode and the episode that was leading up to it, the money that Silvio is owed, he's very tiptoey around those Russians. And then obviously the Russian that they may or may not have killed in the Pine Barrens weighs on his mind and weighs on Christopher's mind and Paulie's mind, bits and pieces throughout the rest of the series. So let's talk Russians, and let's talk about Tony's fear and how scared he is of the Russians.
Well, what can the Russians do? The Russians can kill him.
Fast.
The Russians can steal his money.
Mm-hmm.
So all that other stuff. I mean, that's really it's the whole. I don't know why. I've really not thought too much about why David Chase is writing a bunch of these stories about these Russians, so much as to just sort of play upon this whole idea that Tony Soprano's not the ultimate tough guy that he's put out. Tony's front is, I'm a tough guy.
Yeah.
But when you get behind the front, Tony, of course, is a totally insecure guy, not as smart as he thinks he is, and that's basically. And maybe he puts the Russians, like the Pine Barrens, for example. He talks about, well, this guy killed 16 Chechens with his bare hands.
Yeah.
So the last thing he wants to see happen is seeing you. The last thing you want to see happen is either Paulie getting killed, Chris getting killed, or even he being killed when he runs into the Pine Barrens looking for Paulie and Chris.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Right. He's got trepidation around it because he also had that confrontation early in that episode before they went on their money finding mission over to the big one's house. Tony's not necessarily on even ground with that business conversation that he's having with the main guy on their end. So and that guy's being very like hospitable and nice. He's offering him drinks. He's this, he's that. Hey, I need to collect Silvio's money. If you don't have it, when can I get it? Where can we go? And he's like, well, Vladi or Valerie is this or whatever. He's a drunk, but just go to his house tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. Like, so the guy's being sort of accommodating, but also like Tony knows if something goes sideways and this isn't taken care of in the easiest way, and I don't have a reason to explain why this guy did go missing, I'm going to have a fight on my hand. And I think that's the specter of the Russians in general over like the middle of the series, is that at the drop of a hat, a war could break. You're worried about New York to a certain extent, but you're really worried about the physical toll that the Russian mafia sneaking into that part of New Jersey and taking it over is going to take on your army of fat men that you love because they're fat and you can hold that over them, or just hilarious idiots that are just underachieving left and right that you can lecture. Now you've got a house of cards that can fall on top of you if the Russians start to sneak into your territory.
Well, I would imagine if you're a mob boss in the mafia, you pretty much know who your adversaries are. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's this guy, his son is going to take over. The family has been in whatever, whether it's in New York or New Jersey. Like, there's kind of a history and a tendency with everybody who's kind of in the mob.
Right.
Not that it's always totally nepotism, but there's a lot of like, I know what these families do. I know how they operate. I know who they seem to bring in, who they attract. He knows nothing about the Russians.
Yes.
Most of the guys that are coming in, like PM said, they're coming over they have military training and shit. And that's harder. Like, hey, I learned how to fight on the streets of Newark compared to somebody who's trained in
he's in
army,
the interior army,
and knows how to survive in the wilderness for 4 days with a supposable gunshot wound. Totally different, two different things. So like, I would definitely look at that as, it's just, he's scared of the unfamiliar, and ultimately he's scared of whatever it is. Like, any of the situations that you look at, like when he's having that dream sequence, when he's in the hotel and he's got the other person's identity and he can't find his way home. Like, that whole thing is basically, he's scared of not be able to go back to what he knows, where he is. Like, I can't get home.
Oh, he's afraid of dying.
Yes.
He's afraid of dying.
Metaphorically.
So
probably really, I mean,
and the ultimate thing that he's totally afraid of is having it all taken away. By somebody else. It's one thing if, hey, I get, the FBI eventually comes and whatever, like, that is a fear, but I do pay really high priced lawyers to keep me out of jail. And even if I go to jail, I'm going to probably come out within a certain amount of time. Like, and I got money like, the other things that he's scared of are the things that he doesn't have control over.
Yeah.
I want to back though of that last statement you made though, Courtney. One is, look at two of the other big quote unquote bosses. You talk about he went to jail, I'll get out eventually. Well, look at Junior and look at Johnny Sack. Both of those guys, Junior end up being put into a psych hospital, but that was because of his criminal stuff. Ultimately, unfortunately, because he got the dementia, he got ordered to go into a state psych facility. And of course, Johnny Sack was only supposed to be in jail for 15 years, but then the cancer gets him.
Yes, right.
So the whole notion of you say
a man who took such good care of himself.
Yeah,
right.
he was pillar of health on the outside.
Jail, but unfortunately, two of the biggest, for lack of a better term, his best friend and his uncle and mentor.
Yeah, right.
Both end up, they end up going to quote unquote jail, and they didn't get out alive. Well, Junior, but you saw how Junior ended up, so it's not like Junior ended up just sitting in the wheelchair, unable to speak. Or able to remember anything. So
that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, that jail's not necessary. Although, you saw those people go down jail, Feach, his cousin Tony B, Phil, as many people got out of jail, the ones Tony respected the most didn't get out.
Yeah.
So,
could be.
He had a real fear of going to jail. All that because, again, he loses control. He loses money. He loses his ability to, the whole thing that Phil holds over his head. When in the scene where he says, "I went to jail for 20 years. I wanted to have sex with a woman. I had to get a tissue. I wanted manigat. I had to make grilled cheese off the radiator."
Right.
So he's definitely and Tony knows these stories, and and that's why when in the scene when the FBI comes to Johnny, Tony runs as fast as Tony's ever run in his life because he's afraid the FBI guys are going to pick him up.
Well, sure, yeah. Well, he's very intuitive when it comes to that, throwing the gun out and everything.
Amazing how well he ran for a guy who was completely overweight and wearing like slip-on dress shoes
in the snow. Yeah, he huffed it. He really huffed it. The other two things that I noted here, obviously, like we've talked about it a few times, Tony is afraid of running out of money, and that's the root of his issues with Carmela. She's overspending. She needs money for this. Why do we have to, spend, $10,000? Why are we giving $10,000 to the school? We could just give $4,000 or whatever it is. Like, you're spending too much money on the kids' education.
Why are you going to NYU when you can go to Rutgers?
Yeah,
and it's home,
right.
It's closer to home, and it's much cheaper.
Yeah, and that's more of the. I think that's relatable to, like the average person that's watching that from home kind of like chuckles in that and says like, yeah, I would say the same thing. But when it's coming from the point of view of a sort of the leader of a criminal family, it's more or less like he knows that he burns the candle on both ends. He's got a gambling problem. He's got basically shaky business that could collapse at any point. During the course, and does collapse at any point during the course of the series, that you can look back on and say like, well, Tony took a bath financially on this, but I think in general, like his fear of running out of money it's a little bit far-fetched because there's so many people that would still kick up to him if he were to go to prison, or that would kick up to Carmela. But I don't think it's about Carmela as it is about Tony and maintaining certain luxuries that are part of Tony's day-to-day.
But think about even at the end where you see Vito gets whacked.
Mm-hmm.
Vito was making all of his money through construction.
Right.
You see Christopher get whacked. And
Bobby was a good earner. Right.
Bobby was not one of the best. He's losing
he was a loyal guy, but I think at one point
he's losing these people. He killed Ralphie, but Ralphie was a good earner for him.
Yeah.
So he's really down to the people he's left with are Paulie, who of course was never the best earner in the world.
Yeah.
Carlo, who was not bringing in the construction business that he was expecting. Silvio's only giving him so much from the bada bing.
Right.
And Bobby, I don't know what Bobby did some sports book stuff. Bobby did some sharlarking, but he doesn't have as many people who are bringing in as much money as he had during, with the guys times. Like Vito and Ralphie and, people like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
In that sense, and even he's got a better connection with New York.
Yes.
Like at that point, he's not making the money from Phil as he did from Carmine Sr. or Johnny Sack.
Johnny Sack, right, exactly.
So he hints at this even in the beginning of the series, which is, remember the first sit down he has with Junior, and Jackie Sr. says, well, who wants to, and he tells, so who wants the job? Because he talks a lot about how the mafia was back when his father and Dickie Moltisanti were mobsters, and about how they could just run numbers.
Yeah.
Like they could just skylark, or they could just do a few things and just make loads of money. And unfortunately, the money they're making might be a little bit better, but it's not it doesn't go as far.
Yes. Yeah.
So, he sits there the whole series. So
it's not directly insinuated it's not directly said in the series, but you also have to kind of look like, all right, it's the late 90s that this comes out into 2000s. Like, yes, the Eastern European Russian mob are actually taking over shit in New York, and Rudy Giuliani's New York is not as favorable to the mob as previous administrations have been. So New York, the money that the guys in New York are not really, they're not getting the money that they're used to.
Yeah, it's not the volume.
So now just like everything else, they want to go into start taking shit out of New Jersey.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's always in that thing of like, oh, well, we got construction, we have the waste management, we have this, we have that. Like, he's always got that fear of, or what are they going to come in and try to take away from me? And if I don't play ball, then guess what? Like, they're not going to take Silvio out. They're not going to take Paulie. Like, I'm the first guy that they're going to come for. So
yeah, cut the head off the snake.
Yep.
The last thing that I have noted down here, and this is how we'll sort of tie things together. I think Tony is afraid of his kids getting too smart, and in his once Tony's dead, whether that happens at Hosen's or later or whatever it is, I think he's afraid that the family connections cease from there, and I think he lived in a fantasy world, even though he discouraged AJ from getting directly involved with it on a few occasions or shied away from discussing it with him specifically. I think in the back of his mind, he always hoped that AJ took to it in the way that like a Jackie Jr. did. And obviously Meadow's not going to be, Meadow has higher aspirations, although she does want to become an attorney and to a certain extent represent Mafia because she knows that there's money at the end of the pipeline. But I think that's what he's ultimately afraid of, is his kids becoming too, maybe not too smart, but too independent, where they don't have to rely on the wealth that he's made for them in his line of work through the 50 years that we've seen him grow into it. And I think that is sort of like that's another psychological weight that he's got to deal with as he's in his middle age.
But just remember the last episode, they talk about Meadow potentially marrying Patrick Parisi.
Yes, right.
So in effect, if she marries Patrick Parisi, then she's going to be involved regardless, because even though he's a lawyer and even though he's doing a lot of business with the mob, so she's going to be tied to it regardless, which is why he was so excited about the Patrick Parisi thing in the last episode.
Yeah. Well, I think Carmela's more excited about it for sure. Because it's a connection. And I think there's an insulation and a sigh of relief that they have. But I think building up to that last episode, there are flashes where he's kind of looking forlorn around, where he's like, man, Christopher would be my link, right? And Christopher is young enough that if he builds his family, he will still take, even if I go missing or I get arrested, like Christopher's the one that's going to be able to take care and make sure that there's like, honestly, there's money coming into my protected people.
But ultimately, he kills Christopher.
And then he kills Christopher, right? Exactly.
Well,
right.
That's because he didn't. At the end of the day, Christopher did the same thing.
He's a liability, right?
Too many bridges got burnt, and he had to burn it all down.
Yeah, yeah. So,
not to get all psychoanalytic, although part
the whole
of the
episode
show
was
is
this,
although part of it is him going to a psychiatrist. I think that's like the crux, I guess, is that he doesn't want them to get involved in what he does, right? He wants Meadow to go to school, and he wants AJ to go to school, and blah blah blah. But I think there's a bigger fear of AJ, and particularly with Meadow, when she starts going to NYU and starts going back home and discussing about like, well, who are you to tell me like you're a mob guy? Like,
yeah,
he has a bigger fear of outside influences on his family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as much as like he wants AJ to go to college and get a degree, like he wants him. All right, well, yeah, you could run the nightclub like Adriana does. Whereas somebody else, like another father, would just be like, no, go do something that does not involve. You run a nightclub.
Nowhere near this. Yeah.
How long do nightclubs stay open for? It's not a really, it's a risky business. It's you're in for 3 years and you're out type of thing. They're very threatened when he starts hooking up with that girl with the kid, the Spanish girl that works for his car, because he starts having an influence kind of on his view that doesn't go along with Tony's. Same thing when Meadow starts, well, he has a problem with the fact that the kid's part black, but it's more for the fact of like his family is educated and starts kind of giving her, you should be ashamed that you're in the mob. You should, of what your father does. That type
talking
of thing.
Points. Right.
Same thing with the other guy, the dentist's son. Like, he's okay with him. I mean, that's the whole reason why he has him work at the construction site, is to put a fear into him.
Yeah, well.
And all that other shit.
Keep him close.
Well,
under the guise of help him out, it's keep him close so that he sees this is, if you run afoul, this is what's going to happen. But that's
I think it was more of, look at the maniacs that are part of my crew.
Yeah.
Listen to the way they talk. Look at the shit that they do. You fuck up my, fuck around with my daughter. I'll unleash one of these bastards.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, as much as Tony really wants great things for his kids, I think he's also scared of those outside influences, whether her marrying somebody out, or both of them marrying somebody outside the family or outside the circle. Well, then now, like, oh, your dad's a waste management guy. Oh, yeah, okay, I know what that means. Right. That type of stuff. Like, he doesn't want anybody contradicting what he's been telling his kids for the past 20 years of their life.
Right. And how he's fed that. He's fed that into their psyche.
Last thing you would want is for Meadows' future father-in-law to come in and say, no, everything you're saying is wrong. That's not how the world works.
Yeah.
That's the way that it works in your world.
Yeah.
But in most other places, that's not how you get, that's how you don't succeed that way.
So we're going to declare winners in each of these categories. I've already said this. I don't think I'm going on a limb. Tony loves pie oh my more than he loves anything else. Salted meats and any food is second, but he loves pie oh my more than anything. He hates Ralph Cifaretto more than anything on his hate list. Second place might be Paulie Walnuts.
What about Richie?
He kind of hates Richie, but like Richie gets dismissed very quickly. So, and then I think he's mostly afraid of Russians. Above and beyond.
Hey, you know who he hates more than Richie or Ralphie?
What's that?
His mother.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, he hates Livia. Yeah, you're right. We'll swap that in there. Hates her for a million reasons. He hates her. Deep down. All right. It was a fantastic episode.
You know what animal we did forget though?
What animal? Oh,
the bear.
Oh, the bear. Well, he wasn't really. He didn't fuck with the bear all that much. AJ was scared of the bear, and criminal mastermind Benny Fazio got to go over and play watch and hold Tony's machine gun
with an AK-47.
With an AK-47. Yeah.
Oh, it was a shotgun. It was a real life shotgun.
Shotgun, but the machine gun was in the cabinet.
At one point there was one of the guards that was sitting there with like an AK. Like I never heard of a bear being taken out by an AK-47.
Yeah,
before.
well, that would have been the day.
In suburban New Jersey.
Yes, that's true. In northern New Jersey. So yeah, a lot to talk about. We obviously this is just a scratch the surface. There can be more Sopranos episodes in the future that we talk about. More mafia stuff. I know this is one of PM's favorite topics to talk about is mafia related media. So yeah, this can be mined for future episodes. I know it's the off season for college basketball, but if you want to give people an idea about anything that's pluggable on your end of the world.
Well, I'm still doing the Big East blog. Still doing some stuff on the off season. Not exactly sure podcast wise where I'm going for next season. So just at the Sports JD on Twitter or X. Follow me there. Once in a while I dabble into some stuff about the Sopranos. But most of the time it's about college basketball.
College hoops. Very good. All right. Well, thank you for being a part of the show and participating in this roundtable psychoanalyzing session for Tony Soprano. And I guess that wraps us up, Cap. Anything else to do you have anything to plug?
Nothing to plug, but I want to leave this. You can ponder this away from the podcast. And for our listeners, feel free to go on any of our social media and drop a comment. Here's the last thing I would want to leave. Mm-hmm. You watch all 6 seasons. Is Tony Soprano really a good mob boss?
Food for thought. All right. Well, with that again, another deep psychological question from the captain, Michael Corby on his side. This is Mike Madden on my side. Yes.
And answer, please answer in our comment section.
Yes,
what your thoughts are.
And yes, is Tony a good mob boss? All right. Well, we're signing off, so we will. Actually, signing off. We do have a week where we are dark. There will be no episode next week due to travel situations. So we're back second week of May for more mirth and mayhem. We hope you have a good night, and we will talk to you later.
Bye, Mike. Bye, PM.
See you later.
I'm not like everybody else.